Hello, I'm Harvey Hakeem, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year I've been alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This week we're looking at 1994. I was 12 years old in 94, and if I could sum up my life as a 12-year-old in 3 words, I think that'd have to be more denim, please. I had so many pairs of jeans, and I think I had a denim shirt that I wore all the time, and I think I got my hands on a denim jacket. I don't think it was bought for me. I think it might have even been my sister's or someone's. Anyway, I found it and I kind of squirreled it away and just made it my own. And I was just a denim banner. I think around that time is you're 12 years old. You're kind of actually really starting to think about what you wear and, paying a bit more attention to fashion. I don't know. Maybe I was a late bloomer. Maybe other kids do this earlier. I was definitely not a fashionable 9-year-old or 10-year-old. I know that. Oh my God, I remember around this time, Reebok pumps. Do you remember Reebok pumps? These were the first shoe I ever got excited about, I think. Oh my God, I remember the first time. Because they didn't come to New Zealand for ages, I think, if I remember. Anyway, I remember the first time some friends and I were playing like basketball, not at school, but like on a Saturday or something. But we went down to the school to shoot some hoops. And this older kid and his friend came along and I think they wanted to play with us. They were a bit like, oh, we can play with you if you want. A bit like, it would be your honor to have us play basketball with you. And we're like, ugh. Anyway, one of them had a pair of Reebok pumps, and we were looking at his shoes like, oh my God, the Reebok pumps. Oh. And they must have caught wind because they said, if you let us play basketball with you, I'll let you pump up my pumps. And at that point, we'd maybe thinking like, hey, it might be cool to have some more people play with us. But as soon as he said that, we were like, get fucked. It took every ounce of willpower because trust me, we all just wanted to like pump up the pumps like we'd seen on the ads. Like we really held it together. I'm proud of all of us for sticking with it. Anyway, I think about a year later, I got my very own pair of Reebok pumps. We were going back on a home trip to Nicaragua for a Christmas, and we stopped through LA and we went shopping in LA, and in a Foot Locker, my parents were like, what would you like for it? And I went, please have a pair of Reebok pumps. And I bought these Reebok pumps, and you could not get these shoes off my feet with a crowbar. I loved them so much. Like, I think the night we got them home, I think I got into my pajamas and my Reebok pumps. I just loved them. And I wore them to death. I wore them till the pump broke. That was a sad day. It was a very sad day. And then eventually I think I ripped up into them when I was actually going to throw them away. I was like, how does this work? What's the magic in there? And you rip it open and you just see this simple little tube tied to like essentially like what you get in a little squishy toy that goes wah, 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 wah. Sorry, that was a terrible sound effect. I was trying to go for something really high pitched and my mouth went, you're not going to be able to do that. You know those squeaky toys? That's what I meant to say. Those squeaky toys, they go, wah, wah, wah. I can't do sound effects. That wasn't even it either. I'm going to stop right there, but you know what I mean. It was just a simple contraption and it just fills up some little air sacs in the tongue of the shoe, and that drove us crazy. And I remember wearing them, like before you're about to do anything, like run or play a game, you'd be like, I better pump up the pumps just to give myself a little boost. I still really like Reebok pumps. I saw them advertised on the Reebok site, and I almost bought myself, and then I thought, no, I can't spend that much money on fucking pumps for nostalgia. And what am I going to do? I'm going to be a 40-year-old wearing, no. I'm going to stop talking about this because I've just got myself excited about them again, and I'm just like, you're going to buy some, maybe, no, control. Anyway, let's talk about what things that happened in 94. Thank you, parents, for my pumps. Funnily enough, I never asked for another pair. Maybe the magic was over. Maybe the spell had worn off. I only ever wore one pair until now. No, I'm not doing it. What happened in 94? I found this out. Edvard Munch's The Scream, Norway's most famous painting of the guy screaming, holding his head in his hands, screaming, was stolen from a museum in Oslo. And this is the funny bit of it. They left a note saying, thanks for the poor security. I would like to think they wrote that ahead of time. Like, they'd done the scoping out. They said, like, this is going to be so easy. I'm actually going to leave a note just to say how easy it was. Because the alternative is, if they didn't write it beforehand, they wrote it as they were stealing it. And I really hope it was that way, because that just kind of really reeks of of someone getting so pissed off. Like, one dude would be like, dude, come on, we got the painting, let's go. And the other guy would be like, no, this was too easy. They should be ashamed of it. You know what? I'm going to leave a note. You know what? We're art robbers. Patrick, or sorry, this is Norway. We're art robbers, Bjorn. All right, we command a certain level of respect, and this is not it. This painting, this deserves more security. They should be ashamed. I'm going to leave a little note. Okay. The painting was recovered in May, the following May, and it was stolen again in 2004. The Scream is one of those paintings. I think everyone knows it, and I think. I love it that there's an emoji based on it. You know, the screaming with the head and the hands. Like, that's totally based on this one, the Scream. Can we have more emojis based on famous paintings? That'd be awesome. Like a Mona Lisa emoji for when you've got a secret that's really juicy. Or girl with the pearl earring when you want to, like, suggest something sexual. Yeah, put girl with the pearl earring. Look at that portrait and tell me she's not about to tell you what her kink is. With a little coy look, like, I've got something I'd like to do. Also, 1994, Netscape launches. This is how the browser wars started. Remember Netscape? And there were some other ones. And I think Netscape was the first one, like, hey, if you were serious about surfing the internet back then, we used to surf the World Wide Web. No one uses the term surfing anymore. It's so outdated. It's so lame. You know what? Surfing the internet is what your granddad did or your dad did. All right? Anyway, this is when the browser war started, and I think that's when we realized we were really geeks. Like, that when we stopped and looked, like, we're judging people on what internet browser they used when it first came out. You know, it wasn't the browsers back then didn't have the all-encompassing, like, you know, day-to-day rugged use that you would get today, where you'd be like, oh, this one uses way too much RAM, or this one, you know, sexy logo. I don't know. But back then, when we were like, Netscape, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Geek! By the way, a geek is different to a nerd. A geek has more technical know-how, and a nerd is just someone that is obsessed with a franchise or IP, is my definition. Anyway, isn't it funny that Internet Explorer, as far as the browser wars goes, Internet Explorer from Microsoft is just the one that they're the drummer of the band. Like, anyone that uses Internet Explorer instantly gets looked down on. Think about it right now. If you used Internet Explorer, you'd be going, you know, like when you have to use a computer that's not your own, like in a library or in a hotel, or, sorry, who's not bringing their laptop to a hotel? So you know what I mean. If you have to use Internet Explorer for whatever reason, you just go, I don't want to. It's so weird that Microsoft, like, Windows dominates the PC operating system market. They've got that down. It's like 70% or something out there. But none of their other products no one will touch. Like Zune, Windows Phone, Internet Explorer. Everyone's like, no, who would use that? Anyway, let me get back to my PC here with good old Windows that everyone knows and loves. Speaking of Bill Gates and art, nice little segue here. This year, 94, Bill Gates buys Leonardo da Vinci's Codex, which is the notebook that Leonardo da Vinci kept, like all his notebooks where he wrote down all the things, where it's got like the naked dude with the four arms and the four legs and in the middle of the circle, that thing. It's called Leonardo da Vinci's Codex. He bought it for $30 million from an earl in Leicester. And the earl would have been like, oh, this old thing. Oh, yes, you can have it. Speaking of Da Vinci's Notebook, there is a band called Da Vinci's Notebook, actually, and they're an a cappella group, and they do a great song that's called Title of the Song, and it is the literal recipe for a boy band song. Check it out. Da Vinci's Notebook, Title of the Song. It's fantastic. I almost said fadge-tastic, which is not what I meant to say at all. That's just a little Freudian slip. They've got a bit in there where when they're singing the recipe for the perfect boy band song, there's a bit that goes, they're singing what happens, like, so it's declaration of my feelings for you, elaboration on those feelings. Someone pointed me to, like, when I was talking about Boys to Men last week, about the perfect R&B song, Axes of Awesome also do the recipe for a perfect 90s R&B song. So thank you very much, Voodoo Wrestler, for that lovely, lovely tidbit. Feel free to reach out to me on the socials or wherever if you've got recommendations from things that you think about on this podcast. Bill Gates, also in 94, he marries Melinda French, and also Michael Jackson marries Lisa Marie Presley in 94. Both of them did this, marrying women in an attempt to look human. In 94, Amazon.com is founded, which is just ridiculous to think about what it is today. In 30 years, it went from, hey, do you like books, to anything you want. I can have it for you here tomorrow. Anything legal. I swear to God, there must be like an Amazon.com on the dark web that's like, yeah, you can totally buy cocaine on here and rank it as well. Leave a review. Like, seriously, we live in an age of absolute convenience. Like if you need anything, I need a scuba equipment. I need a tent. I need shovels. I need this costume. I need fucking computer parts. I need anything you want. You can have it tomorrow, delivered to your door, and that just blows my mind. You could even have it today, in some cases. Too much. We live in too much convenience. This is why we're not happy with anything else, because we're used to getting exactly anything we want immediately, and when we can't get it, we go, this is bullshit. Have you ever gone to get something that you need now, and it says, delivery will be like half a week, and you're like, what the fuck? What have we become? We're so spoiled, and we don't even know it. Yahoo is founded in 94. Remember that search engine? I remember hearing that the guys that I say search engine. It was I don't know. Someone could actually explain it to me properly, but basically it was like a directory that they were keeping, and it wasn't so much an algorithm. It would just kind of like show you what they got. You would like just kind of peek inside their bag. It wasn't so sophisticated. This is a terrible analogy, but apparently, what I'm trying to say is Google starts up, and these guys that made Google actually offered to sell it to Yahoo, and Yahoo went nah. And they're regretting that so much right now. ZipDisk comes out in 94. Remember ZipDisks? They look like the giant 3.5-inch floppy disks. And by the way, I've always had a little chip on my shoulder when people say floppy disks, referring to the 3.5 ones. I remember the really old ones that looked like they were the size of like records, like small single records. Those were floppy. Those would flop when they were in the 3.5 discs. They were not floppy. They were rigid. This has been my little chip. Yes, I will die on this hill. I'm talking about the proper old ones that would go in the A drive in DOS. Remember, you'd slot them in, and then you'd have to like pull down a security switch latch thing. Anyway, God, I'm so fucking old. I feel it today. Anyway, ZipDisk comes out in 94, and apparently people loved these. My dad borrowed one from work, and he came home and was like, oh my God. And he was like, careful, son, stand back. This can hold up to almost 100 megabytes. And I was like, what? All the information in the world? Are you nuts? What are you doing bringing that into our house? There's going to be a SWAT team kicking down our front door any minute now, I'm sure. ZipDisks did not last long enough, dear reader/listener. They were gone in the matter of 2 years, a bit like mini discs. Do you remember mini disc players? Anyway, I'll get to those. I will get to those. Also 94, Magic Eye books. Remember those ones? The ones where you'd like just these weird patterns, and you'd have to relax your eyes, and then you would see a 3D version. We had some in our library, and when we would go for a class trip to the library, the kids would immediately fight for these books and just we'd all crowd around trying to do it. And everyone would lie. Because the great thing about it was, I don't think it actually told you what you were supposed to be looking at. It was just there, and you saw it or you didn't. And I was so crap at these. I just couldn't do it. It took me ages to learn just like to relax your eyes and try to gaze through the picture. And it was so annoying when everyone else would be like, oh, look at that. Oh, it's a pyramid. Oh, or it's a house or a tree. And I'd be like, yeah, I saw that too. What I would do is to get some sort of effect, would anyone else do this? You'd go cross-eyed and you'd kind of get an inverted picture of what it was supposed to be. Anyway, you got some sort of effect, and that was good enough for me. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go back and buy some Magic Eye books and conquer them all now. This year, the George Foreman Grill launches. Mind-blowing technology, the George Foreman Grill. You see, it was angled. It was a grill that they put a little bit of an angle, so they were like, oh, the fat will drip off. Mind-blowing technology. I wish Like, and by the way, this saved George Foreman's finances. Like, the guy had retired from boxing years ago. He makes millions off the George Foreman grill now. I could only wish to sell out like this. I wish I could have some appliance that makes me millions in my retirement, which is any day looming, I swear. Like the Javier Hakeem gin and tonic mixer that angles booze into your mouth and be like, how does he do it? And it's like, the secret is the mixer's not angled. You're actually on an angle because you're drunk. Intel this year is the biggest producer of motherboards, and they announced the second generation of their Pentium processor in 94. I remember the name Pentium because around this time, my dad bought home, we got a new PC, and it was a Pentium Pro 150 megahertz machine. Was it 150 megahertz or gigahertz? No, it wasn't a gigahertz. Anyway, it's a Pentium Pro 150, and I felt like we had a laboratory as far as I was concerned with this new machine. I felt like we could do anything. And my God, I drove that computer into the ground. See, I didn't have, like I've told you many times, I did not have any gaming consoles, so I do my gaming on PC. And back then, it was the Wild West. Like, you would get the files, and there was no... This is the thing I love about consoles. Like, if you shove a Nintendo cartridge into a Nintendo machine, it's going to work. If you shove a PlayStation CD into a PlayStation, it's going to work. It's made to work with each other. If you shoved a gaming disc or you got the files for a game onto your computer, there was no telling if it was going to work on your computer, if you had enough memory or if it was fast enough or whatever. And some games I would get off my friends, off their discs, you'd try to just run the exe file. And, 50% of the time it would work and 50% it would say like, oh, you don't have this? And what I would do, I remember one, for instance, it would say like, you don't have enough extended memory and you might want to change it in the BIOS. So I'd go into the BIOS, which is where you should never go if you are 12 years old with a computer. And I would change something in there to play this game, and it would either work for a little bit and then I'd try to change things back and the computer would crash, or I would change things in the BIOS and the game would not work and the computer would crash. And I was like, oh my God. So what I had to do is reinstall Windows before my dad would get home and realize that I have crashed our computer into the ground again. Like, looking back, I was essentially just killing our computer and resurrecting it like some sort of horrendous Frankenstein experiment over and over again. Like, the PC would come to life and it'd be like, why have you awakened me? And I'd be like, because I was trying to play Desert Strike on you. And it'd be like, why are you killing me now again? I was like, because Doom 2 won't work on you right now, and I've got to ruin everything just so I can blow up some aliens. And then I'd kill it. I'd just go, shh, thank you for the games. I got really good at installing Windows. Like, I could do it easily. Things in TV that come out in 94. Party of Five. Remember Party of Five? Remember when Neve Campbell was like a heartthrob? By the way, I love how in Scream, Neve Campbell, like, she's the teen heartthrob, and she's wearing like a Victorian nightie to bed. Like, this thing comes up to her neck and down to her little toe, and it's like, whoa, so hot. back then, and it was. Remember Jessica Love Hewitt was also in Party of Five, and she made a career out of pouting, and then kind of like, she'd do this little kind of pout and then like a little like half smile, half laugh. That was what she did in every TV show or movie she was ever in. She'd just kind of go sad and then and a little cute smile, and that was it. That was the extent of her acting, and she made God bless her, she made a career out of that. Well done. The Powerpuff Girls comes out in 94. Awesome cartoon. I've just realized that I might be able to find it somewhere and introduce my daughter to the Powerpuff Girls. Because I love the style, the aesthetic they chose for the Powerpuff Girls. It was fantastic. Ellen, the sitcom, before she was a daytime TV star that would later turn out to be a monster, Ellen was a in-the-closet comedian, and there was a sitcom called Ellen, and she ran a bookstore. She worked in a bookstore. And she actually did come out on the show. They did it in a really funny way where they're at the airport, she's trying to tell someone, and she doesn't know how to tell them that she's gay. And she turns around and accidentally leans on like the airport gate desk microphone into the tannoy and goes, I'm gay, and it just resonates around the whole terminal. It's very, very funny, actually. But Ellen turned out to be a fucking narcissist, horrible person, didn't you? If I become famous and like people go, turns out Javier Hakeem is a horrible person, no one will be surprised. No one will. And I will rest on that. I'll be like, everyone knew. A little show in 94 comes out called Friends. You might have heard of it. This becomes maybe the biggest show of the decade. The show heard around the world. My wife is a huge Friends fan. Like, if there was a quiz based on Friends, my wife would win it. Hands down. I don't care what you might be a Friends fan, or your partner might be a Friends fan. My wife knows everything. The other day I just said, like, when does Phoebe make this noise? And Annie was like, oh, when this happened. And I was like, oh shit, it was. It's true. Friends, everyone at school would talk about it. I think it was on Weekly, and it would be like on Wednesday nights, and on Thursday everyone was quoting it. Everyone was talking about it. It was just so lovable and relatable and funny. It was funny. We loved it. Ross was my favorite. I just thought he was funny. I thought he had a great physical comedy, and everyone hates Ross. They really do. And I always find myself defending Ross, because also you got to remember, Ross is damaged, man. Ross has been so insecure his whole life. So he throws himself into his paleontology where he feels confident. He had a marriage that was failed because his wife turned out to be a lesbian. I mean, I'm glad for her, but that's got to have some lasting effects on you. You know, he's divorced again. Oh, he keeps getting married. That's his fucking problem. Anyway, Ross, I'm saying, has got baggage, and I think everyone unfairly just goes, he's an asshole. Like, yes, there's that episode where he's trying to get... The episode where everyone hates Ross is when he's dating Rachel, and Ross is trying to get everyone out into a cab so they can go to an award ceremony for him, where he is getting a massive award. This is a big night for his career, and everyone is fucking around, and Rachel just keeps coming in and out, and at the peak of it, he takes it out on Rachel. Unfairly, absolutely, when he goes, I don't care what shoes you wear, I just want you to get your butt in there and put something on so we can go. Okay? Yeah. Asshole move, but totally, like, have you ever tried to wrangle 5 people into a car that, like, you need to get them going, and, like, one's fucking around putting on the other one's clothes, this one's trying to work something out in the washroom, just wrangling cats. Have you ever tried to do that? I totally understand why he was flustered. Dick move. I'm not defending how he spoke to Rachel, but dick move. I'm just challenging you. Have you ever got that angry? I bet you have. You know what? Everyone's got their shit. Everyone's got their shit on Friends, if you look back retrospectively. Joey is a huge womanizer. Chandler is cripplingly insecure and uses his humor as a total defense mechanism for everything. And they're incredibly homophobic, the pair of them. Monica is an absolute control freak. Rachel hijacks Ross and Emily's last night just so she can try to hook up with Joshua. She hijacks this very special night that Ross has put together for Emily just so she can try to get into Josh. Like, that's a total dick move. Oh, and Phoebe doesn't believe in evolution. There you go. Everyone's got their shit. All right? Songs that come out. Let's do songs first. That come out in 94. Great songs that come out in 94. All That She Wants by Ace of Base. Ace of Base come out of the blocks absolutely racing in 94. No one's heard of them before. No, we hadn't. And they make it all the way to New Zealand. That's a big thing. All the way to New Zealand with their All That She Wants. It's great. What a Man by Salt and Pepper. Shoop by Salt and Pepper as well. Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John from the Lion King movie. Fantastic Voyage from Coolio. Oh man, I used to listen to Coolio and think like, yeah, this is hardcore. It was so... Like, if you let your kids listen to it, it's not hardcore. You know, my parents going, what is that? What was it? What's the Coolio song? I'll see you when you get there. I think that has a classical music sample underneath it. My dad heard it. He was like, oh, I think this is Pachelbel's Canon or something. And I was like, oh, I thought it was hardcore. It's classical. Gin and Juice comes out by Snoop Dogg. Return to Innocence by Enigma. You know that one? I love that a song like that is just like chanting to a very slow beat could be hugely popular in 94. And I love that song, and I love that it's popular. And I hate the name of the band so much. They're called Enigma. Ugh. You can tell they've got candles on their rider, right? Linger comes out in 94 by the Cranberries. Loser by Beck. told me. Do you know how happy I was when I realized that was Spanish in the chorus? When he goes, soy un perdedor, I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? That soy un perdedor means I'm a loser in Spanish. And I was like, because other kids were trying to sing it, and I'd be like, they have no idea what they're singing. They've got no idea, and I do. Because my parents told me Spanish. Thanks, Mum and Dad. It's all paying off now. Endless Love comes out by in 94. My Endless Love. Great songs. Top 5 in 94. At number 5, you got Hero by Mariah Carey. I liked it. I liked it a lot. You know, it's the so many songs with Hero, because there's Chad Kroger's Hero from Spider-Man. I am so high, I can hear ever. And Enrique Iglesias had Hero. I can be your hero, baby. And Mariah Carey has a song called Hero as well, which is, and then a hero comes along. That one. So number 5 is Hero by Mariah Carey. Number 4, The Power of Love by Celine Dion. For the Power of Love. Also confusing, because there's another Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News from the start of Back to the Future. I'll Make Love to You by Boyz II Men. There's Boyz II Men again. Oh, they're loving the 90s. They just sat down and just made themselves comfy for the 90s. There was a... Oh my God, these are such soppy songs. Hero, Power of Love, I'll Make Love to You. Number 2 is I Swear by All for One, this boy band. And with Boyz II Men and All for One here, these two songs, there was an era around this time of like boy band songs just being so incredibly soppy rather than being dancey. They chose sincerity and like absolute heart over beat or danceability or being catchy. It was all just like, I love you so much. Like All for One's I Swear mentions marriage. I think it was the first time I'd ever heard marriage in a song, and I was like, whoa, pump the brakes, guys. Come on. This is a song. This is supposed to get your attention, not drive her away. Really, you're coming on too strong. This is the soppiest top 4 out of a top 5 I think we've had on the podcast so far. The soppiest top 4, clearly The Woman of the World in 94 are crying out to be romanced. But at number 1, we get a total different switch, which is The Sign by Ace of Base. Who didn't love this song? It still slaps. And yes, I did say slaps because I'm down with the youth lingo. Ace of Base, there was an absolute fervor when Ace of Base came out because they were out of Sweden and they just had 2 massive hits that went global, like All That She Wants and The Sign. And they're super catchy, and there were 4 of them, and everyone was just going, it's the new ABBA. It's the new ABBA, and that was as far as Ace of Base got. They cursed them as soon as they said there's a new ABBA, because I have not heard anything about them since. These 2 songs are still great, and ABBA would have gone, yeah, we're still selling out arenas, by the way, as holograms. We don't even need to be there and we're selling out. Eat that. What have you done, Ace of Base? Not even a commercial in Sweden, I bet. I don't know, maybe they're huge in Sweden right now, I don't know. I've not got my finger on the pulse. Anyway, that was kind of what's going on with music in 94. Let's talk about video games in 94. In 94, we get this little piece of machinery called the PlayStation. By the way, it's released in Japan in December 94. It won't release till the US until 95, because they like that. Anyway, PlayStation comes out, and I love the story of PlayStation coming out because it's the best breakup story in video game history. So what happened was, remember the Mega Drive comes out with the Sega CD. It's going to be an add-on to the Mega Drive for CD games. It's really hyped up, and it really underdelivers. And it's around this time that I think Sega is really... They're shooting themselves in the foot trying to come out with the Sega CD and the 32X, and they've got the Sega Saturn coming out soon, and no one knows what should we be spending our money on. Anyway, long story short, Nintendo, with the Super Nintendo, they see the CD element is coming through. It's coming through in music, it's going to come through in games, and they start working with Sony to develop an add-on to the Super Nintendo that's going to be Super Nintendo CD, for the lack of a better word. And they're working with Sony, and Sony's developing this with Nintendo, and then Nintendo sees how poorly the Sega CD sells, and they pull out of the deal with Sega. They're like, we're out. And Sony's like, but we've been working on this. We've put so much money and time and effort into this. And Nintendo's like, I don't give a shit. I'm out. And Sony goes, fuck you. We're going ahead anyway. And they come out with PlayStation. And I remember when I first heard of PlayStation, I was like, first off, I could not tell, do I like this name or do I not like this name? Anyway, I remember a kid in my school had one, and I'd go around to his house after school, and he'd put in the disc, and you just hear that really iconic startup sound for the PlayStation, and it just blew everyone away. And it only had like about 5 games on it, like Ridge Racer, Destruction Derby, Tekken. Oh my god, Tekken comes out on the PlayStation, and it's like, no one can believe what we're playing. We're like, move over, Street Fighter. Sorry, this is in like 3D? What the fuck? It was incredible. Good on you, PlayStation. And like, let's be honest, as of time of recording right now, in start of September 2024, Sony has won the console wars. Yeah, remember, it feels weird, like in the 90s, it was just Sega or Nintendo, and you couldn't think of any other competitor coming into the market and toppling these two giants. And then PlayStation comes in, and then Xbox. Sorry, when I mentioned before that no one else touches Microsoft products, Xbox was the exception. I know that PlayStation's won the war now out of Xbox and PlayStation, but for a time it was neck and neck. And this is around the time you started having real exclusives wars as well. Anyway, I know people would argue that, no, the first rights war was Tetris. Sorry. Anyway, what am I talking about? Carry on, Harvey, getting on a tangent where you don't know what you're talking about. And when you say these things out loud, I can already feel people that know so much more about this in their heads going, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I don't. I'm going on feeling and nostalgia and memories. That's it. I promise nothing else. Some games that come out in 94. Earthworm Jim. Just love the idea. What is it? He's a worm that wears a giant suit, and that lets him be a space hero. Great. Love it. Need for Speed 1 comes out. Warcraft, Orcs and Humans. We're about to hit into PC gaming at this point. Real-time strategy battles taken over. I can't wait for, in subsequent years, things like Command & Conquer is going to come out and all that great shit. Anyway, we get some sequels in 94, some big ones. Final Fantasy VI, not nearly as final a fantasy as the previous title, led us to believe. Streets of Rage 3, which is nowhere near as good as Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 3, they overcooked it, ruined it. Doom 2 comes out, Sonic 3 comes out, and in the same year, Sonic and Knuckles. So they're busy at Sega. Maybe because they were like, look, we are absolutely shitting the bed with Sega CD. How quickly can we bump out another Sonic title? Do you remember when Sonic and Knuckles came out? And they made it so it's its own game. But if you put if you put Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 into the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge and made a super cartridge, you could play as Knuckles in old games. This was witchcraft as far as I was concerned. Like, I was like, how are they doing this? Because I could kind of... What blew me away, I couldn't believe how they're doing it with just hardware. Like this cartridge from before, like Sonic 2 or 3, that never knew it was going to be meant to work with Sonic and Knuckles cartridge. They did it. They kind of worked backwards with old technology, old cartridges, and they just plugged two things together, and it worked in the software. It just blew my fucking mind. It was crazy. More of that, please. In 94, fighting games are flourishing. Like I mentioned, Tekken is flourishing. It's huge. King of Fighters 94 was one of the last great 2D fighting franchises, if you ask me. Killer Instinct is killing it right now. This is the new brutal game that Mortal Kombat is going like, oh, look at those graphics. Amazing. My friend Paul had this on Super Nintendo, and Killer Instinct was all about the combos, like learning moves and stringing together and making up your own combos and all that. And one night he called me up. He called me up at 1 a.m. And remember, this is on a landline, so he called my family's phone at 1 a.m. And I managed to get to the phone first because he'd been talking about working on combos, and he was tired. He was like, I've just worked out how to do a 24-hit combo with one of the characters, Orchid. And I was like, I'm on my way. And in the middle of the night, I went over to his house just so I could see it, because I couldn't fathom it. A 24-hit combo with Orchid that wasn't an ultimate combo, just an in-game regular combo. You crazy, man. You've been in the lab too long, but you've delivered results. Well done. There was a game that came out on PC called Rise of the Robots, which is maybe the worst fighting game ever made. You could use like about 2 moves. There was a blue robot main character that you had to play as, even though there were other cooler looking robots. It was awful. It was awful. Look up any sort of review of anything about Rise of the Robots and just watch a little bit of gameplay if you can find a clip. It is... You know what it looks like? It looks like you asked early AI to come up with a fighting game, and it did its absolute best, like 10 years ago. AI 10 years ago made this game, and it actually would have been a better game. But the game I want to talk about is 1994, X-Men Children of the Atom comes out, which is one of the best fighting games / PC gaming experiences I've ever had in my life. It's an X-Men fighting game, and they took the aesthetic from the show and the 90s X-Men comics. The animation looks beautiful. You had breakable stages. All the characters had moves that just mirrored them. It did exactly what you would think they would do. Like, it was just so good. It paved the way for like games like Marvel versus Capcom and all the rest, X-Men versus Street Fighter, all of those things. I completed it with every character. I knew every move. I remember this was like my Friday night, because when you're 12, you're not going out with your friends really. Like, well, I wasn't in Christchurch, New Zealand at 12 anyway. Like some weekends you might go to the movies, but that's more like during the day. I'm talking like your Friday, your Saturday night, where you're just too old now to be hanging out with your parents on a Friday night and Saturday night, just doing what they're doing. Like they're in front of the TV watching some shit. But I would go lock myself away in the office, and I'd look at the time and be like, oh my God, I've got like about 2 hours to myself to play this game. And I fucking did. And I loved it, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything at that time. It was so good. X-Men Children of the Atom. If you know, you know. All right, let's move on to movies. A little movie in 94 comes out called Pulp Fiction, and it sends everyone crazy. Remember the soundtrack? I love you, pumpkin. I love you too, honey bunny. All right, everybody move. It's the robbery. None of you fucking pricks move, or I'll execute every one of you motherfuckers. This is when everyone suddenly knew Tarantino's name, and everyone's like, who the hell is this guy? And how has he revitalized John Travolta's career? John Travolta had not done anything in ages, I don't think, really. Well, he wasn't a cool A-lister. No one is expecting him to come back and feature as this cool hitman that does like the twist in Pulp Fiction. I don't know when I watched it. I know it definitely was not 94 when I watched it. There was no way my parents were going to let me anywhere near this movie. But I do remember everyone was quoting Samuel L. Jackson. This is what cemented Samuel L. Jackson as an A-lister as well, by the way. Apparently, stop me if I'm wrong, apparently Lawrence Fishburne was offered the part of, what's his name? Jules in Pulp Fiction, the one that Samuel L. Jackson ended up doing. But he turned it down for whatever reason, and Samuel L. Jackson got it, and he did the whole Path of the Righteous Man, speech. And you know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee. So good at sound effects. Again, I should be doing Foley. This was huge. Uma Thurman, the best, the most... I know there's a lot that happens in Pulp Fiction where it's like, what's going on here? But the most edge of your seat shit was when he's about to stab Uma Thurman with the syringe of adrenaline. That shit there was, everyone was on the edge of their seat. Oh, that was tension. That's when Tarantino builds tension, and I have not felt like that again until the start of Inglourious Basterds. Oh, he can build tension, that director. I see it, I feel it. Also, when I watched it, I was like, Tarantino likes saying the N-word a lot. And he likes saying it a lot himself in a part he wrote for himself, I'm guessing, and cast himself. Is that a red flag? Anyway, it's a great movie, and I used to look at Tarantino movies, and like that would be my metaphor for how my wife tells stories. Like my wife would want to tell me something, and I'd look in her eyes and be like, she's going to tell me something. But then she'd start, and then there would be a time jump over here to like someone else that they related to this, but this actually happened 2 days later, but this actually happened before the thing, and there was no explanation. At the end, you had to kind of piece it all together, like Pulp Fiction. That was how my wife told stories. Tarantino would understand my wife perfectly. What else comes out in 94? Stargate. I went to go watch this with friends, probably on a Saturday afternoon. Stargate was, and it had MacGyver in it. Remember that? Richard Dean Anderson. He was in it. Was he in the movie or the TV show? Oh, God, I've forgotten now. Anyway, James Spader was in it. Stargate is the franchise that some fans desperately wanted it to be as big as Star Wars or Star Trek, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the franchise. I just don't think it had the amount of content to really make it a huge hitter. But I know there's some real diehard Stargate fans out there, and I salute you for doing the Lord's work for your franchise when you don't have much to work with. I really appreciate that, and I wish it was bigger, especially now because Star Wars has just gone to shit. Anyway, no, I'm going off script here. Clear and Present Danger comes out, the second Harrison Ford Jack Ryan movie. I remember the action scene in this, like the convoy, when the convoy gets ambushed in the middle of the movie, and like. This was nominated for MTV's Best Action Sequence. Do you remember the MTV Movie Awards? These were the awards for teens, and they had all the categories you loved. The categories were things like Best Kiss, Best Villain, Best Fight, Best On-Screen Duo, Best Action Sequence, all the shit you loved. Oh God, I'd lose my mind anytime Jackie Chan got nominated for Best Fight, and if he didn't win it, I was outraged. Speed comes out in 94. Go back and watch Speed. If there is a theme to a movie, it is Speed. Like, once this movie starts, it does not stop. I was talking about the tension in Pulp Fiction before. Like, the tension in Speed is less intense, but spread out over the whole movie. You watch a bit of Speed and you suddenly realize that you haven't breathed in 30 seconds. It's so good. Like, the soundtrack is amazing. Like, if they've got to go from here to there, no one walks. They all just run. Everyone is running through this movie. Oh, it's so good. And it made Keanu Reeves an absolute A-lister. The music was amazing. Dan, 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 dan. Sandra Bullock comes out of this. I'm so happy Keanu Reeves turned down Speed 2 because it was bag of shit. I'm sorry. Street Fighter the movie comes out. Yeah. The less we talk about this. There are some people that claim to love this movie. You're absolutely lying to yourselves. People that are like, no, I really like this movie and I think it serviced the video games and it's real. No, you're lying. You've picked a hill to die on out of spite. And what happened was you got into an argument with someone and you said you found yourself saying you liked it, and now you can't get out of the lie, can you? You're stuck in a relationship with someone you don't like. I see you. It's never too late to just throw your hands up and go, yep, sorry, I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. They cast Jean-Claude Van Damme as Colonel Guile. Guile, the American colonel, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. Him going, hello, I am from America. Apparently, Jean-Claude Van Damme was doing an obscene amount of cocaine during the making of this movie. They hired someone that his job was just to make sure that Jean-Claude Van Damme would show up on set in any state because he's on coke, so it doesn't matter if he's like not slept the night before. I'm assuming he'd just do a line and then just go, action, here we go. What's amazing is his physique is still incredible. Like, is cocaine a drug that, is it a quasi-steroid? What is it? I just can't fathom how he can be doing so much coke and look amazing. Or is that something that's not a surprise when people do copious amounts of cocaine? Let me know. Also in 94, he makes a movie called Time Cop, which is just, I mean, this is 90s action written all over it. The pitch. Okay, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? But he's a time traveler, and he goes arresting people through time. And people are like, fucking sold. Again, how much... I really hope there was so much cocaine in the pitch meeting when that happened. Like, someone was like, oh, okay, all right, listen. Jean-Claude Van Damme is traveling through time, and the other guy goes, stop, we're making it. Just don't finish it. Surprise me with the end result. Go for it. Heavenly Creatures comes out in 94, which is a big hit for Peter Jackson when people start taking him seriously. It's a big hit for Kate Winslet. This is a big breakout role for her. It's a real-life story about a murder in New Zealand. It's in New Zealand. Check it out. I say check it out. I feel really bad. I've never watched Heavenly Creatures. Oh my God, I know. Take away my citizenship. Natural Born Killers comes out in 94, and lots of parents go absolutely crazy for this one because it glorifies violence. I hate when people go, oh, if they saw this in a video game, they want to do it in real life. Like, you know what? I've played so many fighting games in video. I'm not a cage fighter. I've played so many racing games. I'm not a professional race car driver. I don't speed. I've played Overcooked. I'm not a great chef. Just because you do it there doesn't mean it's not an excuse. It drives me nuts. Anyway, The Crow comes out in 94, which is a great movie, and unfortunately it's just remembered for killing Brandon Lee. Way before, years and decades before Alec Baldwin accidentally killed someone on set, someone else, Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, was killed on set of The Crow. Like, apparently it was a blank cartridge, or like there was a malfunction with the prop gun, and he actually got shot and died. And they had to finish the movie with some stunt doubles and a bit of CGI. And it's a real shame that this movie about this guy dying, coming back from the dead, had the main actor die and not come back from the dead. And it's a very good movie. And I know they've just made a remake. I haven't seen it, and I don't think I want to. I don't think it could be as good as the first one. I don't know. Initial reviews and reaction make it look like it's pretty crap. I don't think I'll bother. Four Weddings and a Funeral comes out in 94. And I liked it when I saw it the first time in New Zealand. But having lived in the UK for almost 15 years now, I can appreciate these Richard Curtis movies way more. Like, the fact that the first few pages of dialogue of this movie is just the word fuck repeated about 36 times is peak Britain. It really is. It's so good, this movie. And it makes me really not like Andie MacDowell so much in this movie. She's just so Americanized in it. Anyway, maybe it's just Richard Curtis. That's how he wrote Americans. I'm not saying anything about you Americans, just Andie MacDowell in this movie. Clerks comes out in 94, which was the first cult movie that I remember people going like, oh, this is a movie, you probably haven't seen it. I'm better than you. Fuck off. Terminal Velocity comes out in 94, which is maybe the last movie helmed by Charlie Sheen before everyone just went, no, we don't want to work with you anymore. Top 5 movies in 94. And number 5, The Flintstones, the live-action Flintstones, which is the movie people thought they wanted, but no one really did when it came out. The Santa Claus is at number 4 with Tim Allen. The first one was great. The rest were terrible. At number 3, True Lies is number 3. And by the way, I'm going to say about True Lies, this is James Cameron's best movie. Fight me. It is. I love James Cameron movies. Aliens, Avatar, Titanic, Terminator 2. He's got great. But True Lies is this perfect mix where James Cameron has just got this massive, big scope budget. The action's incredible, but also Arnold Schwarzenegger has really learned how to do comedic acting after doing things like Twins and other, he's found his comedic chops, and they are flexing hard as well as his muscles in True Lies. It is such a fun, entertaining movie. This was a blockbuster in every sense of the word. I remember one time, a friend of mine, we were watching True Lies, and then Annie came home, and we just were finishing True Lies, and she was like, True Lies, start it again. And we started it again. We just watched it twice. It was so good. Fight me on that. It's James Cameron's best movie. Also, I love The Abyss. Number 2 in 94 is Forrest Gump. Is this the most perfect movie ever made? Was 94 one of the most perfect years for movies? Because The Shawshank Redemption comes out in 94, and Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump, to me, are the movies that when you come on and turn on the TV and you find this movie on at whatever stage, you will just drop everything and just go, I am watching this now. This is what happens next. I'm just watching this. They're perfect movies. Forrest Gump, I watched it in the cinema, and the bit at the end when he's talking to the grave of Jenny and talking about their son, in between my mum and my sister, and they're both bawling. And at the time I was just like, oh, this is a bit weird. I rewatched Forrest Gump recently because it was on TV, and I was like, I'm watching this, and I got to that bit and I was an absolute mess, crying, watching him talk about their son who's just so smart. Oh my God. Seriously, once you have kids, just anything just sets me off. It's crazy. Number 1, The Lion King. Disney is absolutely on top of the world. This is the peak of the Disney Renaissance, if you ask me. Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and like no one thought you could top Aladdin. Aladdin was a huge movie, a massive blockbuster. They had Robin Williams. Like the song went to number 1 in places. It could not. The next movie could not dominate anymore. And The Lion King comes out and just goes, hold my beer, Aladdin, and smashes everything. They get Elton John to do the song. It's got James Earl Jones voicing Mufasa. It's got Jeremy Irons as Scar. It's got Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who was a child star at the time and wishes he'd probably died a child star. Sorry, that's mean of me to say. He never got bigger. His childhood was the best. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, or JTT, as he was known. Like, girls in my class used to have like Jonathan Taylor Thomas calendars and stuff. They'd be like, oh my God, JTT. Disney is killing it. However, the only person in the world that might be killing it more than Disney in 1994 is Jim Carrey. Because in 1994, I had to look this up and double check and look at this twice. In 1994, Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all come out in the same year. Like at the very beginning, middle, and end of 94. And these are Jim Carrey's best movies, if you ask me. Like just each one hit like a sledgehammer. Like Ace Ventura, you watched it and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? I want to watch it again immediately. The Mask was just, you were watching this cartoon made for adults that was hilarious and it just worked. And that was the first time you saw Cameron Diaz and you were like, oh wow, I'm feeling things I've not felt before. And Dumb and Dumber, just hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And like each movie is kind of flexing like a slightly different comedic muscle. Like they're subtle, but they really are. And he's committing to each comedic style so much. Like in Ace Ventura, it's the style of absurdity, impressions, energy. In The Mask, it's just absolute goofiness, like going from sketch to sketch to character to character, like total embodiment as well, and like in this ridiculous mask. And I said, and Dumb and Dumber is just goofy, stupid comedy. You know, like I know it's not Jim Carrey's line, but like the comedy summed up in Dumb and Dumber is like, the girl's got skis, and he's like, you got skis? She goes, yeah. They're yours? Yeah. Both of them? Yeah. That's such a, like, that sums up the comedy of this movie so much. Jim Carrey killed it in 94. Times Person of the Year in 94 is Pope John Paul II for just being the Pope. I don't know. He's the Pope. He did great things this year. I don't know. Honestly, I kind of saw it as Pope John Paul II, and I was like, I'm sure he did a lot of shit. Again, I'm getting less and less in love with this whole Times Person of the Year in this podcast. I think it's really against everything else I'm talking about here. I might drop it. No, I've committed to it. I've painted much like people that like Street Fighter the movie, I've painted myself into a corner, and I think I'm just going to have to ride it out. What else? At 12, I mean, this is the time you start socializing a bit more. Like I said, going out with your friends. You start getting phone calls for you at your house, which are for you. You start having phone conversations with your friends. I remember this is the year at my primary school, the school colours went from brown and gold to jade and navy. Trust me, it was a massive upgrade, a massive improvement. Around this time, you would get money. You get your own money and decide what to spend it on. I couldn't not spend it on K-bars. If you don't know what a K-bar is, it's a little, it's a sweet, like, or a lolly, if you call it, like a little bar of like taffy. Imagine it's like one step away from plastic. This thing. It was like sweet plastic. And I don't know how many kids lost molars to these K-bars. It was like an industrial runoff. And someone made it orange or like slapped on a flavor of some sort. Gave it a little bit of food flavoring. And kids, you would bite on this thing. It was the kind of thing like, you know those kind of sweets where like you bite into it as hard as you can and like your teeth kind of set into it, and then you get scared when you go to open your mouth that your tooth is going to stay in this taffy on steroids. That was it. Some people would suck them, you know, which was just disgusting. I hated seeing people like suck things and then like save the rest for later. Ugh, I couldn't. Ugh. So I would like just snap bits off with my hands because I learnt, don't snap it off with your mouth. You'll never you'll need the jaws of life. Snap a bit off and then put a bit in your mouth and just suck on it for about a week or two. Yeah, K-bars, New Zealand staple. I think I had my first kiss at 12. It was in a game of Truth or Dare. It just happened. And it was with a girl I kind of fancied. And I was like, wow, that was weird. But I kissed a girl. I kissed a girl, and I did not know how to feel about it afterwards. The best thing ever at 12 years old, though, was these things called, there was an arcade in my town called Wizards. You know, arcade, like, you know, full of coin-operated video game machines, arcade cabinet machines. And what they would do is they would put on these nights at school fundraisers where you would pay like about $6. And you would go, and for about 2 hours, they just put every machine in the place on free play. So you didn't need any more money. You just paid your cover charge, and you ran in there and you lost your mind. Like you were spoiled for choice. It was like, and you would complete games with your friends, like wrestling and the Simpsons arcade game and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat 'em up. Any game, your racing games, every game you could just complete and just keep playing, and then you would be sweating from playing games and just pure excitement. Like some kids would just have the shakes, just kind of like looking around, not knowing what to play, just going, I can't handle like just almost passing out from sheer excitement. And by the end of it, you were just drained. You were just like you'd run a little kiddie marathon on your mind because your little tiny 12-year-old brain had just been overwhelmed by everything you wanted, and there it was in front of you. Anyway, oh my God, this podcast has gone so long. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it there. Thank you for listening to my ramblings, the ramblings of a madman. I will catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Catch you later. Bye.